March 8, 2026. Lisbon, Portugal. Jacob Kiplimo crosses the finish line of the EDP Lisbon Half Marathon and breaks the world record. But the way he does it is almost insulting to physics. He raises his arms. He smiles. He looks like a man who just finished a moderately long Sunday run. 57 minutes and 20 seconds. 21 kilometers. At a pace most people cannot sustain on a bicycle. But here is what makes this story so much more than just a world record. 13 months earlier, this man ran 56 minutes and 42 seconds in Barcelona, 18 seconds faster than what he just did in Lisbon. The world saw it. The clock saw it. His body did it. World Athletics said, "It does not count." Today we are going to talk about what really happened in Barcelona. About what it takes physiologically to run at 22 kilometers per hour for nearly an hour. About a kid from the slopes of Mount Elgon who might be the greatest distance runner alive right now. And about whether 56 minutes is actually the wall, or just the next line waiting to be crossed. To understand Jacob Kiplimo, you have to start about 2,400 meters above sea level. Bukwo District, eastern Uganda, the slopes of Mount Elgon, a massive ancient volcano on the border with Kenya. This is the Sebe Highlands. And this region, which makes up less than 1% of Uganda's population, has produced a completely disproportionate number of the world's best distance runners. Stephen Kiprotich, Joshua Cheptegei, Moses Kipsiro, Stella Chisang, and Jacob Kiplimo. Kiplimo was born on November 14, 2000. And from birth, he was in an accidental training camp. At that altitude, every breath contains less oxygen than at sea level. Every run to school is a physiology lesson. The terrain is uneven, the air is thin, and almost everyone around you is fast. What most people do not know is that the Sebi people belong to the broader Kalenjin ethno-linguistic group, the same cultural family that produced most of Kenya's greatest distance runners. The colonial border between Uganda and Kenya cuts straight through this community. When Jacob Kiplimo races Joshua Cheptegei in training, it is not Uganda versus Kenya. It is two cousins from the same mountain. He ran his first international race at 15 years old, the 5,000 meters at the Rio 2016 Olympics, becoming Uganda's youngest ever Olympian. Bronze medal at Tokyo. World Championships bronze in 2022. Commonwealth Games double gold. Triple world cross-country champion. And 2 half-marathon world records. 1 official, 1 complicated. February 16, 2025. The Barcelona Half Marathon. The previous world record was 57 minutes and 30 seconds, set by Ethiopia's Yomif Kajelcha just months earlier. Nobody in history had ever gone under 57 minutes. Kiplimo did not just go under 57 minutes. He ran 56 minutes and 42 seconds. He hit 5 kilometers in 13 minutes and 34 seconds. 10 kilometers in 26 minutes and 46 seconds. 15 kilometers in 40 minutes and 7 seconds, a world best for the distance at the time. The crowd went wild. World Athletics listed it as a world record pending ratification. And then, in early 2026, World Athletics said no. The stated reason? The conditions under which the athlete competed did not comply with World Athletics rules. After media pressure, a more specific explanation emerged. Kiplimo had spent extended periods running very close behind the lead car, close enough that the car's slipstream may have given him an aerodynamic advantage. Here is what the science actually says about that. Running creates air resistance that costs real energy. Studies estimate that elite runners spend roughly 4 to 8% of their total energy budget just overcoming aerodynamic drag. Running in the slipstream of a vehicle significantly reduces that drag, similar to drafting and cycling, where a rider tucked behind another can save 20 to 40% of their energy. For a runner targeting under 57 minutes, even a 2 or 3% energy saving could translate to 60 to 90 seconds over the race. That is why World Athletics rules prohibit pacing by vehicles that might reduce air resistance. The controversial part? No rule specifies the exact distance required between an athlete and a lead car. Barcelona's organizers pushed back hard. They said the lead car followed the exact same protocol as other World Athletics certified races. The on-site referee did not flag anything during the race. Many coaches and journalists pointed out that lead cars are standard in major road races, and the sport had never clearly defined what distance is necessary to avoid a slipstream ruling. Kiplimo himself kept quiet. He said he was proud of 56.42, and he started planning Lisbon. This is where the story becomes something else entirely. Jacob Kiplimo did not just find another fast race. He went back to the exact course where he first broke the world record back in 2021. The Lisbon Half Marathon, a flat, sea-level course certified for records since 2008. If Barcelona was going to be questioned, Lisbon was going to be bulletproof. And the differences in how he raced it were deliberate and visible. In Barcelona, he had a pacemaker who he passed at 3 kilometers, then ran solo for 18 kilometers tucked behind the lead car. Aggressive, unprecedented, almost reckless. In Lisbon, there were no pacemakers at all. He ran in a competitive pack through the first 10 kilometers, fully exposed to the wind, then applied a controlled surge. The lead car stayed visibly further ahead than it had in Barcelona. This was not accidental. It was a statement. He crossed the line in 57 minutes and 20 seconds, 10 seconds faster than the previous world record. The second-place finisher, Kenya's Nicholas Kipkorir, crossed in 58 minutes and 8 seconds, 48 seconds behind. This was not close. This was dominance. At the finish, Kiplimo said, "After the first 10 kilometers, I thought the world record was possible, so I kept pushing through the final 2 kilometers. No anger, no I told you so. Just quiet, devastating competence." So how does a human body actually do this? How do you run 22 kilometers per hour for nearly an hour? There are 3 physiological pillars that determine distance running performance. And Kiplimo sits near the top of all 3. The first is VO2 max. Think of this as your engine size. It measures the maximum rate at which your body can consume and use oxygen, expressed in milliliters per kilogram per minute. World-class distance runners typically sit between 70 and 85. We have no published lab data for Kiplimo, but from his race performances, physiologists estimate he is operating at the high end of that range, or beyond. Here is the fascinating part. He grew up at altitudes between 1,800 and 3,000 meters. Thin air forces your body to produce more red blood cells. More red blood cells means more oxygen delivery. It is like being born with a performance-enhancing adaptation that money cannot buy. The second pillar is lactate threshold. VO2 max tells you how big the engine is. Lactate threshold tells you how long you can actually floor it. When you run hard, your muscles produce lactate as a byproduct of energy metabolism. At moderate intensities, your body clears it almost as fast as it is produced. Push past your threshold, and lactate accumulates, your muscles acidify, and your brain starts screaming at you to slow down. For events lasting between 30 and 120 minutes, research shows that lactate threshold predicts performance better than VO2 max alone. Elite half-marathoners race at roughly 80 to 90% of their maximum aerobic capacity, right at or just above their lactate threshold. Kiplimo sustaining 2 minutes and 43 seconds per kilometer for 57 minutes implies his lactate threshold sits at an extraordinarily high fraction of his maximum capacity. His training blocks of up to 250 kilometers per week at altitude are what push that threshold higher, year after year. The third pillar is running economy. Imagine 2 runners with identical VO2 max. One uses 6% less oxygen per kilometer. That runner will race significantly faster. Running economy is about efficiency, how little energy you waste with every single stride. And this is where East African runners, including Kiplimo, tend to have a structural advantage. Studies show that runners from the Sibé and Kalenjin highlands have, on average, lighter lower limbs than European competitors, sometimes around 400 grams less per leg. That might not sound like much, but at running cadence, it translates to roughly 8% less energy spent just swinging your legs forward. Over 21 kilometers, that is enormous. Add carbon-plated racing shoes, years of adaptation from running hilly dirt roads at altitude, and a weekly training volume of up to 250 kilometers, and you start to understand 57 minutes and 20 seconds. Before the 2025 Chicago Marathon, Kiplimo told reporters his peak training load was 250 kilometers a week. That is roughly 4 marathons worth of running, every 7 days, at altitude. Which brings us to the question that physiologists have been quietly arguing about for years. Where is the wall? If we look at how the half-marathon world record has evolved from over 62 minutes in the early 1970s to 57 minutes and 20 seconds today, the progression curve is clearly slowing down. Statistical models suggest current records are within 1 to 3% of their theoretical limits. That implies possible further improvements of maybe 30 to 60 seconds, not multiple minutes. Physiologist Michael Joyner, who famously modeled the theoretical minimum for the marathon, estimated that a runner with near-perfect VO2 max, running economy, and lactate threshold could approach the mid-56-minute range for the half-marathon under ideal conditions. Barcelona's 56 minutes and 42 seconds sits right there. Now think about this. Kiplimo is 25 years old. Most distance runners peak between 25 and 32. Eliud Kipchoge won Berlin at 34. Kenenisa Bekele ran 2 hours and 1 minute at 36. If Kiplimo develops his marathon over the next few years the way those greats did, while maintaining his half-marathon sharpness, we might be looking at the man who becomes the first to officially break the sub-56-minute barrier. A barrier he already knows, in his own body, that he can break. The thing about Jacob Kiplimo is that he never said Barcelona did not count. He did not protest. He did not argue on social media. He just went back to Lisbon, ran clean, and let the record speak. There is something almost poetic about that. The body does not need a press conference. The body just needs the road. Is 56 minutes officially possible? Based on the science, yes. Based on Kiplimo's trajectory, absolutely. Based on whether World Athletics will certify it when it happens, that is a very different kind of question. If you want to understand how human performance limits are set and broken every few years, subscribe. We cover the science, the stories, and the controversies that mainstream sports media never goes deep enough on. What do you think? Is Barcelona's 56 minutes and 42 seconds a ghost record, or the most important time in half-marathon history? Drop it in the comments. Next video, we are looking at what it would actually take, physiologically, to run a sub-2-hour half-marathon. Spoiler, we are not as far away as you think. I am Sebastian. This is the Injury Breakdown. See you next week.